What's going on, everybody? So this is going to be the full review and my thoughts video of the Serpent Cobra 811T. Kind of a mouthful. This is a 1/8 scale truggy I got ready to run from A Main Hobbies for, I think it came in at $560 or $70 with change or whatever. That would be plus tax. And yeah, we'll just kind of go over what you get with this, and then I will tell you about my experiences, and hopefully those of you who are watching this might be interested in watching the bash videos I have of this. I did not race this. This is basically a racing kind of class truggy, but I went ahead and just bashed it. Alright, everybody, so going over this thing a little bit, it has a 150 amp ESC that is both 4 and 6S capable. It has a 2000 kV long can brushless motor, and it's got a 20 kg Metal Gear servo. Now all of this stuff is from Dragon RC. I'm not sure if that's like a off brand of Hobby Wing or whatnot, but it is called Dragon RC. So it basically has Dragon RC electronics, and they are waterproof. Now this does have a 3-diff setup. Here, let me pop the shell off. Okay, so this does have a 3-diff setup with the front, center, and rear. I didn't find the need or even have the desire to tune any of the diffs. I liked the way it was set up out of the box. Now it does come with 5mm thick shock towers front and rear, and the chassis is 3mm thick, and it's got a nice countersunk hardware and all that stuff. So just to kind of go over it, starting in the front, you have aluminum bodied shocks. They are threaded, so you can adjust your ride height with those. There is 3 positions to remount your shocks to adjust your spring rates on the actual shock tower, and there is only 2 on the actual A-arms. Now the A-arms are nice and thick, really thick, and this does have a track bar in the front as well. Then right behind that you have all your electronics grouped here in a nice little area, but still accessible and easy to get to and to work on. This thing did come with a 16 tooth pinion. I did up it to a 20 tooth pinion. I found it to have good running temperatures with the 20 tooth, and much better speed wise and all of that. I was actually able to do backflips with ease with the 20 tooth pinion. It would do them with the 16 tooth pinion, just not as easily. Now behind all the electronics you have your center diff right here, and then right behind that you have your 2 battery trays leading to your rear. Now your battery tray dimensions are 1 3/4 inch wide by 6 1/4 long. So they are skinny, but they are pretty long. Now going to the rear, it's going to be basically the same story as the front. You've got aluminum threaded bodied shocks, so you will be able to adjust your ride height and a little bit of your dampening rate. And you do have 3 positions on your shock tower to adjust your dampening rate, and 2 on the A-arms, and once again the A-arms are thick. Now going to the wing mount, this wing mount is probably the strongest wing mount I have come across. I mean, this took several nasty hits, and basically the shock tower bent of 5mm, and I mean this is a serious shock tower, and I can attest to that by having to bend it back once it did bend. This is very high grade aluminum, and this shock tower stood up to the impact and actually didn't break or anything. So I mean, kudos to Serpent for this shock tower. And another thing is, this thing is very easy to work on. when I was pulling off the rear shock tower to straighten it out and just kind of checking everything over, uh, it was very easy to pull apart, no problem at all. Now coming to the body, I had a little bit of concerns about the body for bashing, so I went ahead and Gorilla taped it. But this thing has stood up. I mean, it's barely got any scratches on it. I haven't had too many crazy crashes to speak of, but this body has been excellent. Like I said, no real scratches even. It does have a tiny little crack right here, but for what this thing's taken, I don't think that's too big of a deal, and this body should last many more bashes to come. Now, speaking of like, well, basically, this is a racing class truggy. So with the racing class, you are getting a lot of adjustability in this. As I said before, you do have 3 diffs. If you don't like how it's set up, you can tune with oil the diffs and all that to help if too much power is bleeding to the front, or you want the power distributed differently. You can tune all of that in the diffs for the most part with diff oils. So talking about adjustability, this is a racing class truggy, and along with racing class, you get a whole bunch of adjustability, like adjustable camber links. You can adjust them on the actual steering knuckle, as well as they are threaded, so you can adjust them that way. You can adjust your toe in and out with the turnbuckles, and it is the same in the rear with the camber links. Now, all the metals on this thing, they are metal as well, and all the metals on this thing, the drive shafts, the track bars, the turnbuckles, the camber links, all of that stuff, the shock towers, everything that is aluminum and or metal on this thing, I found to be outstanding quality. Basically, this thing is just a very high quality rig, especially for the money. Now, what I'm going to go to is the transmitter. Now, this is a Dragon RC 2.4 gigahertz transmitter. It does run on 4 AA's, which is pretty awesome because it does have a nice little screen right here. You just turn it on, and you do have a little screen here that tells you everything that's going on. And this thing is very adjustable. You have several adjustments you can make via several different buttons. You have the buttons on the side here, you have the buttons all around the wheel here, and you can lock it and adjust things through the screen as well. Basically, besides this little flip up antenna, which a lot of people don't like, I don't really mind it. I found this thing to be the best ready to run transmitter that I have come across. The only problem I had with it is that I hold my transmitters weird, and a lot of people that watch my channel know that I hold my transmitter like this. I know it's very weird, but these adjustment buttons on the side were kind of a problem for me because I would accidentally hit them with my finger while driving. But for people that don't hold their transmitters funny like I do, this is an excellent setup. You have access to these buttons right here with your thumb, and these with your other hand. It's got a nice drop down wheel. I mean, like I said, this thing is probably the best. No, I'm gonna say it is the best ready to run transmitter I've come across. All the adjustabilities and everything, I didn't have any problems with range, anything like that. Very solid transmitter. Okay, so we're gonna come to the tires now. I found these tires to be absolutely amazing, excellent. Excellent. This is a ready to run. It is less than $600, and like I said, it's a ready to run, but it came with great tires. These tires work very well. I am uber impressed with how good these tires are. From looking at them, you can tell by their pin design and everything that they should be decent, but they are more than decent. They are excellent tires from what I can tell. All the surfaces I've had this thing on, these tires have done amazing. So since we've gone over what you get with the truck and a couple of little things, we'll go over some pros and cons right now, and then I will tell you what I think of this truck. We'll get to my thoughts part of it. So starting with the first pro, I think this trucky looks cool. It is very, very sleek. It is very, very racy looking. As you can see, it just kind of flows. It's got a nice thin chassis. The wheels stick out, nicely. The wing's not protruding too far, so it's not like this big, ridiculous thing you got to look at. I mean, this thing does look very, very sleek, and it looks like it's ready to just hop in a race and do business. You know what I mean? So coming to our first con, because this is basically a race ready truggy, and Serpent isn't like all over the place, it's not easy to get parts for this thing. It's not hard per se, and it's not impossible to get parts, and they do make a few select parts. They do make a few select upgrade parts for this thing, but parts are going to kind of be a problem. You actually have to go out and look for them a little bit. They're not just like readily available anywhere you want to look for them. So part support could be a problem for some people. Luckily for me, I have a main that's less than an hour away, and they tend to stock most of the parts you would need for this kit. But as far as like Amazon and eBay, it's kind of a roll of the dice what you'll be able to find for this thing. But I'm sure if you have a problem, if you decide to get this kit and you have a problem, you will be able to find the part you need. You might have to look a little harder than normal for it though. All right, so coming to our next positive. Our next positive is the electronics in this thing are outstanding. I was very impressed with the electronics, especially with the steering servo. The 150 amp ESC and the 2000 kV motor, I kind of expected to be as good as they are. I mean, they're very, very solid. I did expect them to be pretty decent though. What really surprised me is the steering servo. The torque and speed of the steering servo you get in this kit is very good. One of the best steering servos I've experienced, because I tend to be one of those people that I don't like blowing a lot of money on steering servos. So I tend to like buy pretty cheap servos, and with cheap servos you can get decent torque, but most of the time your speed is going to be lacking. The steering servo that came in this, the 20 kg metal geared Dragon RC steering servo that came in this, is excellent. Excellent speed, excellent torque, had no problems with it whatsoever. And as I said, the 150 amp ESC and 2000 kV motor performed amazingly, and the ESC is waterproof, by the way, if I didn't mention that. Coming to our second con, I'm not a huge fan of the battery trays. Like, I like how they're set up, but because I don't race and not all my packs are Roar spec approved, I do tend to have a hard time with the battery tray. Like, a lot of the times I have to fill a big gap with foam, and a lot of my packs won't even fit in here. I just have a few packs, a couple 2S and a couple 3S packs that will fit in here, and my 3S packs that will fit in here are not very big. They're only 3500 milliamp. So for me, the battery trays are a con. That's not going to be the case for everybody. A lot of people run race spec packs, Roar approved spec packs. So that in itself is kind of like, you know, I just have batteries that I've had. They're not all, you know, Roar spec approved. So that's kind of just like a me thing. It might be different for you depending on what packs you run. But for me, one downfall of this Truggy is the battery packs. Now, another pro about this is just the complete setup of this truck. From the suspension to the weight, balance, tires, just all around performance, I have to give this thing an A++. I mean, this thing is set up amazingly. Blew me away every time I drove it, and that is no exaggeration. You really do have to drive this thing to understand like just how well it performs. This thing performs outstandingly. If you watch my bash videos, you can just I just talk about it, just how nice it is to drive this thing. Very very little complaints, and I'm pretty much out of cons on this thing. So we'll move to my thoughts part of this thing. So I'm going to blow a lot of people away with this, and I'm just gonna say it. This has taken spot number 2 on my list of favorites. This thing has knocked out the Creighton, the Outcast, and the ET48.3. This thing is solidly at my second of favorite RCs I've ever tested. Techno MT410, the Serpent Cobra 811T. This thing is amazing. Like I said, this thing blew me away every time I drove it. The complete setup, the total package. I mean, I am just so excited that I actually decided to go ahead and test this thing. This thing makes an excellent bash truggy, and I'm convinced you could throw this thing on a racetrack in a race and it would perform excellently, and you would actually like have a chance out there running with those guys. I don't know what to say besides that. Like, this thing is just the total package for me by far. And you have to understand, I'm like talking about like all the RCs I've tested. By far, this is the most solidly set up, ready to run I have ever driven. That includes the Creighton. This thing is a pleasure to drive. A pleasure to drive. Just the control, the maneuverability, that agility this thing has. I mean, I'm serious. You have to drive one of these to kind of understand what I'm talking about. But it blew me away. I am absolutely blown away by the performance of this thing. This is literally kit class in a ready to run. This is exactly what I personally was looking for when I would get a ready to run. Something that performs well, something that is set up well, and something that you can just get out there and drive and have fun. And that is this. This thing is set up amazingly. The only thing I've done to this is up the pinion and threaded down the collars on the rear shocks. That's it. Outside of that, everything else, I wouldn't change one thing on this. I literally would not change a thing on this truggy. I think this thing is perfect the way it sits. And coming in at just slightly more expensive than a Creighton, if you were to ask me right now, would you buy a Creighton or the Serpent? I would say Serpent. Hands down. I would buy this over a Creighton. And for those of you that have watched my channel and know how much I like the Creighton, that's saying a lot. This thing has definitely won me over. I definitely think it's worth every single penny you pay for it. Like I said, this is kit quality, racing class, and a ready to run. Absolutely amazing. And I am totally 100% a fan of this truggy. This gets double stamp of approval and 2 thumbs way up from Killer Off-Road Hobbies. I absolutely love this truggy. That's pretty much gonna be it. That's where I'm gonna leave it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. It was informative and or entertaining. If it was, please hit that thumbs up. If you did not like this video for any reason, go ahead and smash that thumbs down. Hey, if you got a second, please check out that description. There's a lot of cool stuff down there. You can get Killer Off-Road Hobbies merchandise. You can get in on raffles. You know, the sky's the limit. You can become a Patreon and help cool stuff like this keep coming to the channel. There's a bunch of stuff down there, so if you got the time, check it out. If anybody's in the market for a 1/8 scale truggy and they want something that is fun, will perform, will bash, and or race, right here is what you're looking for. Don't look anywhere else. Ready to run style, less than 600 bucks. You cannot beat this Serpent Cobra truggy. All right, everybody, till the next video, I'm Gary saying peace.